Today, we are diving deep into some massive ideas from Yuval Noah Harari. We're going to explore a hidden force that has shaped, well, pretty much everything, from ancient empires all the way to our modern world. It's a force we deal with every single second of every day, but we rarely stop to think about its true power. We are, of course, talking about information. It sounds like the setup to a really strange joke, doesn't it? But seriously, the answer to this question unlocks one of the most fundamental secrets about human civilization. You see, each one of these is a system of information that doesn't just describe the world, it actively creates it. And if you can understand how they work, you can see not only how we built our reality, but also how brand new forces are about to remake it completely. Okay, so let's get right into it. We usually think of information as, a map. You've got the world, that's the territory, and information is just the drawing of that territory, a description of stuff that already exists. But Harari argues that's only half the story, and honestly, it's the less important half. The real world-building power of information, that lies somewhere else entirely. So this slide here shows this really fundamental difference. On one hand, yeah, information is a map, but on the other, it's a tool for connection. Think about music for a second. A symphony doesn't represent anything tangible, right? You can't ask if a melody is true or false, but what it does incredibly well is connect people. It synchronizes their emotions, their movements. Same thing in biology. DNA doesn't have a tiny picture of a lion to tell a zebra to run. No, it's a set of instructions, a code that connects trillions of cells to build a living, breathing organism. And it's this power, the power to connect and create, that let us humans build entire civilizations. This creative power leads to a really crucial idea, intersubjective reality. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a simple concept. These are things that aren't objectively real, like a tree is. And they're not just subjectively real, like a feeling inside your own head. They exist only in this shared network between our minds. Money is the perfect example. A dollar bill is just a piece of paper, right? It only has value because billions of us believe it does. The same goes for laws, gods, corporations, and nations. They are powerful fictions, created and kept alive entirely by the stories we tell each other about them. If we all woke up tomorrow and stopped believing in the United States, it would just cease to exist. That is the incredible world-creating power of our shared stories. So, okay, if civilization is built on these shared stories, how do you actually manage a society with millions of people who believe in them? You can't just tell a good story and call it a day. Harari argues that every single large-scale society in history has been built on two types of information systems, and they have to work together. On one side, you've got mythology. This gives us the big, unifying purpose, the why. It's the epic poems like the Ramayana, which, by the way, became the most watched TV show in the world. Streets would literally empty out in India when it was on. It's the belief in a nation or a god or human rights. These are the stories that get millions of us to work together. But, inspiration isn't enough. You also need organization, and that's where bureaucracy comes in. It provides the how. It's the boring but absolutely essential system of tax records and property deeds and legal codes and spreadsheets that lets a state actually manage millions of people. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Nobody writes epic poems about sanitation systems. We get excited about heroes and gods, not plumbing and paperwork. But that hidden bureaucratic network is exactly what separates a functioning society from a collapsing one. It's the deep, underground web of pipes and regulations and maintenance schedules that keeps clean water separate from waste. Without the bureaucrats managing all that, millions would die from diseases like cholera. The myth gives you the vision of a great nation, but the bureaucracy builds the sewers that let that nation survive. And this is not just some abstract idea. Just look at this number. Between 2014 and 2020, the Indian government invested $10 billion to build over 100 million new latrines. This was a gigantic, incredibly complex bureaucratic project. It involved logistics, funding, public records, just mountains of forms. It might not sound glamorous, but this single project is credited with saving millions of lives and preventing countless illnesses. It's a staggering example of the real-world power of a well-oiled bureaucracy. But here's the thing. Not all information networks are created equal. Harari argues that the most important difference between them is how they deal with being wrong. Do they admit their mistakes and adapt, or do they claim to be perfect and refuse to change? This slide shows two totally different ways of thinking about error. On the left, you've got a scientific text, like the DSM. That's the big manual for mental disorders. It's designed to be a living document, to be updated every decade or so as we learn more. It has self-correction built right into its DNA. But on the right, you've got a holy text like the Bible, which is based on a claim of being infallible, perfect. If there's a problem, the error isn't in the text, it's in how we interpreted it. And institutions that claim to be infallible, well, they fall into a trap. Admitting even one mistake from the past could cause their entire authority to just crumble. And here is a powerful example of that self-correction in action. The first edition of the DSM, back in 1952, officially classified homosexuality as a mental disorder. This was a huge institutional error, rooted in cultural bias. But just 22 years later, the psychiatric community officially said, we were wrong, and they removed it. The institution didn't pretend the 1952 text was perfect and just misunderstood. No, they admitted a mistake, they corrected it, and they moved on. This ability to acknowledge and fix errors is what allows a system to get stronger and more accurate over time. So here's the crucial point. This whole principle of self-correction, it's the absolute heart of a healthy democracy. We often think democracy is just about voting, but it's so much more than that. Elections let the majority have their say, but what if the majority is wrong? A true democracy has checks and balances. It has independent courts that can strike down bad laws, a free press that can expose government lies, and academic freedom that lets experts challenge popular opinion. These are the self-correcting mechanisms, the error checkers, that keep the system from going off the rails. For thousands of years, the rules of information were pretty stable. Humans created the myths, and human bureaucrats managed them. But in just the last few decades, a completely new kind of player has entered the game, and it is changing everything. We're talking, of course, about artificial intelligence. This right here shows a revolutionary change. For all of history, we humans were essential links in any information chain. In oral cultures, info passed from human to human. With writing, it went from a human to a document to another human, still a human in the loop. But now, for the first time in history, we have created networks where humans can be cut out of the loop entirely. A computer can analyze data, make a decision, and tell another computer to do something in the real world, all without any of us even looking at it. This is a fundamental break from everything that came before. Now, to really understand what's at stake here, we have to get this one critical distinction. We tend to mix up intelligence and consciousness. Intelligence is simply the ability to solve problems, to achieve goals. Consciousness is the ability to have subjective experiences, to feel pain, joy, love, anger. In us, they go together. But with AI, they don't have to. And AI can be unbelievably intelligent, way smarter than any human, at achieving its goals, like winning a chess game or selling you more stuff online, all without feeling a single thing. It doesn't need to be conscious to make world-changing decisions. And that's a concept that is both incredibly powerful and, honestly, pretty unsettling. And this leads us directly to what is probably the most urgent question of the 21st century. As these powerful, non-conscious AIs take over our information networks, our bureaucracies, and maybe even our myths, who or what is actually going to be in control? And look, this isn't some distant sci-fi fantasy. World leaders are already talking about AI in these stark geopolitical terms. They see the development of AI not as some scientific project, but as a race for global domination. The stakes could not be higher, because whoever controls the global information network will, in a very real way, control reality itself. And as these new networks are being built, a deeply troubling and, frankly, anti-democratic pattern is emerging. The information, it's only flowing in one direction. Every single day, vast oceans of data are being pulled from us. Every click, every purchase, every conversation, it's all flowing from us, ordinary citizens, to these huge, centralized hubs of power. But the information is not flowing back. While we become completely transparent to the network itself becomes more and more opaque to us. This imbalance, where all the info flows from the bottom up, but not from the top down, well, that's the perfect recipe for a new kind of digital dictatorship. So the ultimate takeaway here is this. For millennia, we humans have been the sorcerers. We created the powerful information networks, the myths and the bureaucracies that let us build civilizations. But now we are on the verge of handing the sorcerer's wand over to a new kind of non-human intelligence that we have created but that we don't fully understand. And this leaves us with a final, profound question to think about. When the very forces that define our reality are no longer under our control, what does it even mean to be human?